Okay, everyone, welcome from Trinidad and Tobago again. This is your favorite radio host, Corinne Lafon, Between the Lines radio show. And I have the beautiful Crystal Oliveria. Is that correct? Tell me if I pronounce it correctly.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yes, yes, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful day. Where are you calling in from, by the way?
I'm from the Fresno Clovis area in California.
Okay, you were born and bred in the States or you have roots somewhere else?
Nope, born and raised.
Oh, nice, 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 nice. All right, so we're going to be talking to parents today or to anyone who wants to be a potential parent or a caregiver, or if you have adoptive children, yeah, because we want to help parents, caregivers, persons who have the responsibility for children to understand how to help them be guided in the right direction in starting or deciding on their career. What I have found, I mean, I can speak about my own experience as we go along in the conversation, but children nowadays different to my time. I don't want to say your time because I don't know how old you are. But
Yes, there's a generation gap.
yeah, there's a generation gap. Let's put it like that. Good. There's a generation gap. And not that I'm that old, but but it's just that there's a gap, and the gap seems to be getting smaller without being a wide generation gap, meaning that many years doesn't have to pass by in order for things to just move so quickly. Things are moving so quickly, so fast, and you just have to keep up with the trends, and even the type of jobs, careers are different from the traditional.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So even the outlook.
Yeah, yeah. But before we do that, I just wanted to give a bit of a background into what we're going to be discussing. I want to just share a bit about Crystal to you. And we're going to also be looking at her website to get to know more about her and what services she offers and how she can be of best service to you. So just a bit about Crystal. She is a founder and CEO of Career Conversationalist. I like that. Parents hire her as a career coach to help their child select a relevant career and transition successfully from school to the workforce. And of course, as I mentioned before, we're going to be switching to her website to learn a little bit about her. But today we're going to be focusing on parents, as I said, caregivers, and how best she can get across how we can, see, I included myself there, how we can help our children to make better career decisions. So, Crystal, let's get going.
All right, sounds good.
So, first to begin, my question before we started recording was that, are you a parent?
No, I am not.
You're not. So I hope you're practicing. I hope you're practicing.
To get married first, there's a proper order I want to follow.
Okay, and that's fantastic. That's the proper order to follow. So she's going to get married first, get the right man, and then and then practice. Okay? Yeah. So for those of us who did it wrong the other way, you're included in this group too. But as you were saying before, persons who are getting ready to become parents, and I think that's a good place to start, as a matter of fact. Before you become a parent, and you're planning to get married, or you're thinking, what should be the kind of thought process a person, a woman, a man coming together in a union before you decide to have your family? What should they be thinking or planning? I know in years ago, nobody really taught us this. And if we want to get things right, like you say, everything in the right order, not that there may be necessarily an order, but there is right and there is right. Somebody who is planning a family, are there things they should be thinking about? Because when you have children, we tend to learn as we go along, but are there things that we should prepare or plan for before actually starting to have a family? Or the discussion with your fiance or your potential spouse, what sort of conversations? You're the correct conversationalist. What sort of conversations we should be having.
I love it. A lot of it is just about how do you want to raise your kids and what do you want to go forward with? Like, what kind of life experience do you want? And for me, it's all about building a loving relationship with your child and moving forward. And I think too many people take an academic approach when they're trying to help their child select a career, and they're very like, they expect their kid to know what they want to be. And I think a lot of it just has to deal with how we're raised. Like as little kids, you're taught, like, what do you want to be? A doctor, engineer, lawyer? And, you know, little kids, we give them these toy cars and all these little toys, and we expect them to pretend and play doctor and do all these things. But there's so many other careers outside of that. And that's really what a conversation is about. It's about how can I expect to encourage my child to explore other careers. And one of my favorite things to tie it in with family is you go on a family vacation and you go to a museum. Encourage your child to think about how things have changed. Because a lot of times the museum will show progression in time and how things have changed. And I loved what you said about the generation gap. About it's not just about how many years, it's the experience. You have kids growing up with cell phones who are going to have a hard time relating to you. What was it like to not have a cell phone? Like,
yeah, I mean, that happens, you know, and I mean, I'm still trying to keep up with the technology now with the phone. I'm like, look, I just want to say hello and bye. I just show me the button to say hello and bye. That's it. All these other things, apps, and I'm like, really? You know, my life doesn't need all of that, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree. Sometimes it adds too much, and you're like, can you just simplify it? And
yeah. But you know, you were saying taking a child to a museum. A lot of parents are not doing that these days. Museums just seem old, stuffy, you know. But it is a great idea. It is a great idea because you can see how things change. And I mean, even parents who have lived through the past, is the best way I can say, can create their own museum. So for example, I remember the days of CDs. I mean, the days of disc, the days of what do you call those things now? When you push in the cassette and the tape, I can't remember.
Player.
And you had to turn the thing to get it back to where you want it to be. I mean, kids now don't know what the hell that is. They have no idea they're like, what? Did that exist? How do you use that? You know, so you can create your own museum in your own home as well as a way of showing the change. Even the telephone, when you had a rotary dial, where you had to, if I were to dial you, Crystal, it will take me forever just to dial the number.
Yeah, you had to dial it, wait for it to go back about next number.
By the time I did all of that, I'm like, hell, I don't want to talk to Crystal anymore. You know, so kids now don't know anything about that. And I mean, even from my parents' days, if I were to see some things from those times, I'd be like, what? How did you manage? You know, so every generation would have its own thing. So the museum is a fantastic idea, but I would like to take it a step further and say, create your own museum so you could see the time, the evolution, the change happening just within your own generation, you know, grandparents, parents, and your children.
Oh, yeah.
But you mentioned too, careers have changed. And yes, people now are still pushing the doctor, the lawyer. Why? Why are they pushing the doctor, the lawyer, the dentist, the traditional jobs? Is it still carrying that sort of a status as opposed to, let's say, somebody who wants to go into animation or an online entrepreneur, online business, which gives you the flexibility, the freedom, be your own boss, the entrepreneurial mindset, which is where we have moved to. A lot of parents are not understanding of that and appreciative of that or respectful of that. They're like, how you have the time to do all those things? You're not working. You're not working. You're just you're just having fun. You don't have a job. You know, help parents to understand this, because I think with the generation gap, that is a big misunderstanding that's happening there.
That's a good point. I think a lot of it is just people aren't aware of what opportunities are out there. And one of the things I like to point out is video games and just how that has changed. Like
Yeah.
growing up, it used to be considered like entertainment or luxury. And it was like, you're spending too much time in front of the TV, you're playing too much time playing video games. And so the idea of creating a video game or working in that industry was considered this airy fairy fantasy, like, oh yeah, dream job. But the gaming industry has turned into $1 billion industry.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think, you know, it goes the same for other industries like paintball industry or
Oh,
some of
yeah.
these other things. And I think because technology has changed so quickly, people don't realize how an industry starts from an idea and then this huge growth that occurs in it. And
Mhm.
so a lot of the jobs are in the growth phase, and it just depends on how entrepreneurial you want to be versus how much you want a safe and secure job.
Mhm.
And I think like that conversation is something that parents are missing because so many of us have grown up with go to school, get good grades, get a good safe job. And so we don't really understand that the jobs of tomorrow are oftentimes from companies that haven't even been started or products that haven't even been created. And so
Yeah.
we've really got to change our mind shift set about how we look at employment.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I remember when you talk about the games, and I mean, you could go back in time with the games thing. I mean, it has just totally revolutionized, and I can't imagine really, you know, and I say I can't imagine, but I think the thinking nowadays is that we should not limit ourselves to anything. Anything is possible. You know, the games that we see now is clearly not going to be the games that we're going to see in the next 10, 15, 20 years once we are around. It's just going to be so different. But the conversation, and I like how you keep mentioning the conversation because it does come down to a conversation. And what is a conversation, Crystal? I want you to define that because for parents, conversation is I tell you what to do and you just do it. I know best. I know what's good for you. You just born. You have no idea. I have lived in this world. I know about security. Hmm? I That's a conversation in parents' minds. So I want you to define conversation.
Great point. A conversation has changed in that it's about getting your kid involved so that your kid is talking just as much as you are. And it's about exchanging ideas back and forth. And it's not about someone being right or being wrong. It's about challenging your kid. If your kid says they want to do something and you feel like, well, why animation? Why do you want to do that? That doesn't sound like a safe, secure job like a dentist, lawyer, or doctor. Then challenge them and have your kid come back and tell you, do the research about, well, let's talk about the Disney company or the Pixar company or all these companies that are making animations and how much money is being made and the types of jobs that are out there. Or, you know, challenge your kid to make them come up with the answer. And you make them do some career exploration. You might be like, wow, my kid actually kind of knows something. That's kind of cool. Like, I wasn't expecting that.
Right. And I love when you define conversation that way because it's a back and forth, it's a listening, open communication. It's not me trying to push my ideas, my beliefs, my background, what I have been taught by my parents onto you. It is for me to recognize there is a shift. There is a mind shift. There is a shift in the environment. There's a shift in what people are demanding nowadays compared to in my time. And it requires a humility on the part of parents. I know it can be very hard for them because hearing your child coming to tell you, I don't want to do what you want to do. I don't want to do what you want me to do is hard for a parent to hear. And a lot of parents kind of seize up. There's a kind of physical thing that happens to them, you know, almost like getting to a heart attack, I presume, if they hear their children telling them these things. It's like a serious hit to the chest, you know. But
Yeah.
we have to be open to our children. We have to be open to learning these new things because our children. I have two boys. I have a 22 and a 14-year-old.
Oh wow.
And I encourage them to do what they want to do. It is not, I think it is wrong, Crystal, for us as parents to live our lives through our children. We had our time and we didn't do what we wanted to do based on probably our parents stopping us because we voiced the same thing and it was shut down. And I think we need to recognize that and we are doing the same thing to our own kids. And a stop need to be put to it. Yeah.
But I also think it's important to note why things have changed.
Yeah.
And I think too, a lot of times as a parent, you feel like, or as a person in general, you feel like you were raised a certain way and therefore you pass that on.
Yeah.
And, you know, the world has changed. Like it used to be, like I know for my parents and grandparents, they had a company that they were expected to work for their entire life and they got a pension.
Yeah.
And that doesn't exist in the world anymore.
Right.
So trying to expect your kids to live to the same standards in a world that doesn't have the same standards is setting your child up for failure.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to define that because it's not saying that you as a parent, your point of views are wrong. It's not saying that it's not valuable. It's just saying that things have shifted and, you know, that advice may still be relevant, but it might be relevant in different ways. And what is security? It's no longer working for one company. So what is it and what does it mean to you?
Yeah. Yeah. How, you know, you're a young woman planning to get married, you know, have your kids and stuff. Tell us a bit, if you don't mind sharing, about how your parents dealt with you in terms of you doing what you're doing now. I wanted to share that.
Right. Well, my dad has always been very encouraging and supportive, and he's very much has a lot of imagination. And so he's the one who always challenged me. It's like, okay, Crystal, like, just explain what you want to do and why you want to do it. And he always treated me like an adult, regardless of what age I was.
Yes.
And my mom has always been very supportive. And it was always like, okay, well, I'm here to support you as best as I can, but you have to take charge and you have to take the direction and lead because it's ultimate your life. And as a parent, I can't make you do something you don't want to do. Right. Now, I have to be sure that you have a lot of interest in it and it makes sense and there's a good financial backing behind it. Like, okay, you want to go to school to become a fashion designer? Like, okay, is that a real thing?
Yeah.
You know, if we think of all the companies and all the clothing and, you know, the fashion industry, like, yes, it's a real thing. There's really jobs out there. And so, you know, just having that conversation and being like, okay, well, are you going to get a good mentor? Are you going to pick a good college? And, you know, if you're willing to do all the research, then I'm willing to support you.
Okay, great. And you have siblings or you're an only child?
I have two siblings. There's quite an age gap between us.
Yes.
So I have a half brother and a half sister.
Okay, good. So, you know, how do you guys relate in terms of that shift in thinking, seeing that there's an age difference? How do you guys relate?
I think a lot of it, like with my brother, there's 13 years between us.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I think part of it is just him watching me and what I went through. Like I graduated during what was known as the worst recession since the Great Depression with the financial housing bubble burst, and just seeing a lot of people being laid off and going to college and people really challenging, like, why do I have a college degree if I'm struggling to get a job and what's going on in the world market? And
yeah, that's the question, Crystal. God. Yeah. Because so, I mean, it happens, you know, you study, you did what your parents tell you to do. Go to school, get the best grades, you have a first degree, you have a master's, you even have a PhD, damn it. And you're like, what the hell? I'm not using the damn thing. I'm wasting away. What was the point? So a lot of the younger people, the younger generation now are moving away from even going to university. They're not interested. They're like, I prefer to do short courses, or I prefer to pursue something online as opposed to staying in a classroom and studying. You know, everything has become, education has just changed in itself too. from being in a physical classroom, attending classes, having to submit your homework on paper, physical paper, when you can do it online. So, people are wondering now, that shift in career. I really don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be a lawyer. I don't want to be this or that. I want to do animation. I want to go into photography. I want to be an online entrepreneur. I see that there's money to be made online. The world has opened. How can we help parents to cope with that conversation, to be a better listener, to support and encourage their children if they are stuck in their ways and they believe that being a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer is the way to go?
I would say that it's not about being right or wrong. It's about finding what's going to be the best fit for your child.
Yeah.
Because even if you push your child to become that doctor, lawyer, or engineer, they might not be happy with it. And your child might have talents and abilities that they're not using if they're really good at drawing and animation. And it's really about understanding what's a good fit for your child and having that conversation and challenging them and saying, why don't you want to be a doctor? Or why don't you want to be an engineer? Or why do you want to be a cartoonist?
Yeah.
And, if you're not sure how to have that conversation, that's okay. I mean, I provide 7 questions you can ask to help your kid start the conversation and keep it going. But that's the important part about communication, is understanding their decision-making process. And they might say, I don't want to be a doctor because I have a friend whose parents are doctors and this is what they're saying. And I know I've heard doctors tell, when I was in high school, I had a classmate whose father was a doctor and said, don't become a doctor because of all the paperwork and the laws are changing and you spend more time working with paperwork than you do with your patients.
Gosh. Yeah.
So, I mean, your kid might have some valid reasons as to why they might not want to become a doctor if they're talking to parents like that. And kids have this incredible network when they're young because they have all these friends. And, you won't know that unless you're having a conversation with your kid, giving your kid the opportunity to talk to you.
Yeah. I have your website up, and we're going to talk, hit on a couple of those ways to help your child make a better career decision. Something came to my mind, and I so wanted to ask you, and it just slipped out of my head a while ago. It will come back to me. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember it. But let's move on to the 7 ways. It was just in my head, and I was just like, I need to ask her this. I need to ask her this. But let's look at your website, because you were mentioning that you offer the type of service that can help parents, and I know you do coaching and things like that. And of course, it must be globally. You're online, for Christ's sake. So you can help anyone anywhere in the world. So you have 7 ways to help your child make better career decisions. And if anybody wants to grab that, I see they can, of course, enter their name here. Let me just click here. See what happens. Okay, and they put their email address. So this can be a giveaway that you can give to the listeners for them to at least get started, get the ball rolling in having that conversation. Yeah?
Yes, and it's a list of 7 questions you can ask your child regardless of what age they are. And the reason that's important is because as your child grows up and they have different experiences, they're going to hear that same question differently several weeks or months or years out, because they're not the same person as they were before when you first asked the question.
I love that. At what age do you start?
What's
the earliest that you start? I love that. You said at any age. At what age I would love, it's just because I'm not going to go back to having children. But, if I were to have a child now or pregnant, I would love to hear what my child would say at the earliest age, given those 7 questions. And then at what point I ask them again and see how it changed, and ask them again and see how it changed. So tell me, what's the earliest age you start having that conversation with your child?
All right. So I just want to make a quick differentiation. When I actually start coaching kids, it's with kids who are in high school. But I have a lot of parents who have kids that are 4 years old who are following me on social media because they're at the point where they're like, oh, so what do you want to be, sweetie, when you grow up? They're like, I want to ride horses. And they're like, the parents are telling me, they're like, okay, I'm just going to wait till my daughter picks something a little bit more realistic. And it cracks me. Yeah, because I'm like, your kid's 4 years old and you're having these conversations. So what do you want to be? And I'm like, why do you expect a 4-year-old to know what they want to be? What kind of life experiences do they have at 4 years old?
Yeah. But they know. I mean, if a child said they want to ride horses, that could lead into being an equestrian. It could lead into being a jockey. It could lead to a number of things. Dealing with horses, being a horse whisperer, a horse doctor. I don't know. It just dealing with horses. But in her mind, she just sees horses, herself associated with horses, and she can ride them when she wants. She may have a whole farm, I don't know, full of horses, taking care of them. But in her mind, that's what it is. And don't be surprised. She may stick with the horses straight through.
And this is what I told the parent. I said, you know what, regardless of how ridiculous or silly it might be, I'd rather you have a conversation with your 4-year-old, because it's going to be much easier to change directions in the conversations than if your kid's 16 years old and you ask them what they want to be and they say, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
which is what is happening.
You don't want to get to that point. So keep encouraging the conversation.
Yes, Crystal. That is exactly what is happening. You ask a teenager what they want to do. You wait till that point. That is what happened to me. You wait till that point. But I shouldn't say that is what happened to me. I've been watching my kids and seeing their talents as they come along and help them to develop those talents. But normally the traditional thing is when they go to high school. I mean, from the primary level, they start kind of working on their mind as to what you want to be. Sometimes they might have career day at schools. I'm sure they would have that in the US too, career day, where they get dressed up and they come as what they would want to be, and they might do a little presentation and all of that. But of course, you still see the influence of the traditional jobs coming in. I'll tell you a little joke. A friend of mine, she sent her daughter, I think she was how old is Zinedine? I think she's 5 or it's so much. And she dressed her up as a nun. And she said, yeah, she dressed her up as Mother Teresa, as a nun. And she said, hey, that can be one that. We're very religious. We are Catholics. And she believes that her daughter can be a nun. And there's nothing wrong with that being a career. Giving your life to Christ and serving the world and helping other people. What's wrong with that? And she looks so beautiful. I think when I'm going to be promoting this, I'm going to put that picture up of her. So, because people are would never think of being a nun or a priest as a vocation, as a career. So that was like way off. I'm sure she was the only nun in school for career day. Everybody else was probably an engineer, doctor, pilot, one of those type of things, But the 7 ways, I mean, you have children at 4 years, like you're saying, having that conversation with their parents. Yeah. How is that dialogue happening? How is that going on? Are they still alive?
Yeah, so it's really interesting because on social media, like I've noticed parents saying, I think part of it is like when you look at the resources that are out there, a lot of the resources are about helping your child like learn how to read and how to write and learn their colors, and like there's a lot of the I want to say teaching them the skill sets.
Yeah.
But parents are like, but I want my kid to develop as a person, their talents, their abilities, their confidence.
Yeah.
Like, how do I guide them? Because I don't know what they're going to be, and they want more of a support system. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why I'm attracting parents that have kids that are so young, because they're like, it's fresh, it's different. Like, I don't hear anybody talking about how do I help my kid develop their talents and abilities. Yeah. It's always been kind of this like, let's wait and see what they'll do, versus I don't have to wait. I can start having a delicious conversation with my kid now and getting them excited so that they see what they come up with.
I love the word delicious conversation. Yes. Having a delicious conversation, because it brings such joy to hear the kind of things that children say, and I think, as parents, you see yourself, that innocence, coming out, that you too kind of go back and say, oh, I remember the days when I wanted to be this or that. And then it was zapped out of me by my parents or by the society, and so I'm not able to live that happy life that I wanted to live. And if I could do it all over again, I would do it, you know? So you don't want to stop your child from living that life. So you start from age 4, and although you don't really, you're not geared towards those, but you have 4-year-olds coming to you, which is cool, which is cool. Which is cool. I hope when you start having kids, they come to you at 4 or before.
Yeah, it's funny because I was just on a podcast with another parent whose kid's in preschool, and she absolutely loved the conversation because she's like, you know, when you read books to kids, you know, it gets them thinking like, oh, it's not just entertainment, it's another way to explore the world.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is when they're younger, like you don't want to freak out as a parent that, oh, my kid keeps changing their mind. How come they can't make up their mind? It's like, no, when they're younger, you want that. It makes it fun. Like, oh, let's go explore the Space Museum today. And next week, we're going to go explore the farm.
That's
like,
right.
It's just fun to get that wide variety.
And
then I think the goal should be that as your kid gets older to narrow it down. So by the time they're in high school, they might be like, okay, I like the medical field. Now let's pick a career within that field.
Yeah.
And I think there's a difference between, like, over time, I think people just eliminate, oh, I don't like this, or I'm not good at this, I don't want to do this, but I do like this, and that. And the only way they're going to know is if they explore a whole bunch of different options when they're younger.
That's right. So you start at age 4. So let's say, okay, at age 4, you come up with these 7 questions, you put the list to them, you ask the questions. At what point again should you come to them with it, or do you leave it for them? Because children are just so forward these days. Do you ask the questions at another age, you know, intervals? What are the intervals? Or do you wait for, or do you look out, not a matter of wait, but do you look out for your child to take that initiative and have that conversation with you again?
Great question. No, so I would say the questions are there to be used whenever they come up in natural conversations. I find that a lot of times during the holidays when people are coming together, it's very natural to ask a kid, like, so what have you been up to? What have you been doing? I haven't seen you for a while. So getting like other people involved in the conversation, like uncles and aunts, like certainly encouraging that and having a conversation with your kid, like just asking those questions so the other family members can hear and participate in the conversation is a good idea. I think it's a good time anytime your child is starting school and it's like, okay, so what kind of clubs and activities are you thinking about participating in, or what classes are you going to take? There's multiple opportunities to start having this conversation.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. So it should be natural. It's not like, okay, at age 4, then at age 7, then at age 10.
Right.
Don't make it so robotic. Yeah, just let it flow. Let it flow. So if you're in the car, if you're in the car and you're driving and a conversation comes up, go with it. You're on the beach, you're at an inappropriate place, just go with it. I see your services here. Oh, designed for the busy family. All families are busy. Oh my God, I don't know of a family that isn't busy. I need to find one. Yes, I need to find a family that just has it down packed. They're not busy. You know, they're not doing the crazy thing. So we have the gold and the silver and the bronze. So tell us the difference. And the scholarship challenge. We're going to talk about that. The Done For You resume makeover. And I guess this is for the persons who is at that age where they're employable age, let's say like 16, 18, thereabouts, and you know they're putting together their resume. Okay, beautiful. And you have a virtual class. So we're gonna get into that. So tell us about the different services, or just encompass everything that somebody can get. What generally do you offer?
Okay, great question. So generally, I offer the gold, the silver, and the bronze coaching programs, depending upon how much families can afford to invest in their kid and their level of interest. And so, you know, at the bronze level, it's more of here are the worksheets, tips, and short videos to show your child step by step what they need to do to reach the next level. And then they have a community so that they can hang out with the other high achieving kids. And then there's more of a done for you program, which is the gold. And that's kind of like, oh, emergency contact. I scheduled an interview, for a scholarship or an internship and a job, and I'm not really sure what to say.
Yeah.
How can I just need that extra one-on-one coaching to help them refine and prepare for that.
Okay.
So it's really designed for how much engagement there is between me and your child. The scholarship challenge was something that I recently designed just because I had a parent come up to me and say, Crystal, my kid's busy with academic sports. They're busy taking all these classes. They don't have a lot of time. If I could just get my kid to spend 10 minutes a day searching for scholarships, I'd be happy. Can you give my kid a challenge, like a 30-day challenge, like a weight loss challenge? So I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So that's how that came about. And then as far as the bottom one with the resume makeover, that was something that came about because I had a parent who was freaking out saying, in my generation, we didn't have online resumes, and I don't know what an online resume is and what the proper format should be. And my kid's graduating from college, and can you help me? And what do I do? I said, yes, just gift your kid a resume makeover. And her kid had all these amazing abilities and talents and experience. And it was really interesting because emotionally she felt like, oh, I'm a kid. I don't have any experience,
Yeah.
but I have all these hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
And so it was really about having a conversation with her to find out what her experience was. And then on paper, I just formatted it for her and said, okay, this is what your paper resume looks like. And this is what you need to put online. And this is how you go forward with it.
I'm listening to you and I'm hearing the scrambling parent. A lot of us are the scrambling parents. We have so many years leading up to that age and we don't prepare for a child in terms of financially, mentally when they leave the nest, because most of the times they have to leave the home and probably stay at the university's facilities, So all of that is the scrambling parent, I'll call them, getting the resume, preparing for the scholarships, shouldn't that be happening leading up to the time as opposed to when the time arrives?
Exactly. And that's why I'm all about having a career conversations early on, because there's skill sets that unfortunately oftentimes aren't taught in school.
Yeah.
And so one of the things when I coach with kids is as they're growing up, I help them understand, like in the beginning, when a kid's a freshman in high school, they might not know what a resume is. They might not know what letters of recommendations are. They don't know what all this stuff is. But by having an ongoing conversation with them, you help them understand the importance of it, and then they get better with it over time. The resume as a freshman in high school is going to look different than when they're graduating college and ready to officially enter the workforce full time.
Yeah.
And so that's the importance of having these ongoing conversations, and the coaching is because I act as a neutral party. So this way it's not just mom or dad saying it all the time. Their kid's like, yeah, okay, mom, okay, dad. But it's someone else saying, no, this is important. And the kid's saying, okay, I'm willing to participate and show up because there's a community of other kids who are a few years older who are showing them, hey, I was scared when it came to applying to a scholarship or an internship or a job. I didn't know what to expect, but I showed up to the community, I participate, and now I'm having all this success.
Yeah. I see you have here a master class. Help your child select a relevant career and afford college without stress and going broke. Those are two key words there, Crystal.
Without stress and without going broke.
Okay. Once we have that, we're fine. So tell us a bit about that master class, and when is the next class that you're going to be having?
So what it is it's designed so that you can just click on the button and figure out what day and time is relevant for your schedule and when you can attend. And it was really designed because I kept having this conversation with parents saying there's a lot of skill sets that aren't being taught in school that you really need to know about. And a great example is time zones. Like me and you are in different time zones.
Yeah.
And so scholarships, a lot of times when there's a deadline, they might say Eastern Standard Time or Pacific Standard Time. And your kid might not know what that means because it wasn't taught to them in school.
Right.
And so it's really about, you know, there's a lot of good hands-on real-world experience your child will get that they're not getting, that they need to be successful in a global economy.
Right. So I see you have the webinar starting in the next 12 minutes according to the clock. So persons who are listening can come here, and I'm sure you're going to be having it on an evergreen where persons can join in at any time, depending on when you click and when you listen to this recording, you know, persons can jump in. And I want to just kind of, you know, highlight here what they can learn, shortcuts and secrets to move your child ahead of the crowd. Great, how to use other people's I love that one. That should be first. How to use other people, how to use other people's money and guarantee your child a shot at scholarships. Avoid heartache of spending thousands of dollars for a college or degree. Yeah, that's not a good fit for your child. I love that. I love that. That is absolutely awesome. So Crystal, I mean, we have shared so much in this short space of time. I really appreciate you. I'm trying to get back to your homepage here. I really appreciate you speaking with us, sharing about the conversation. We're having a conversation here about parents who should have a conversation with their kids and
yes,
how to go about it and how to go about it. And of course, what I want people to really pick up as a start is this, you know, as the giveaway on your website. I am definitely going to grab it right after this. I'm definitely going to grab it. Even though my kids are 22 and 14, you can still have the conversation. There is no, to me, and you could tell me if I'm wrong, there's no right or wrong time. You know,
right.
When you've made the mistakes before, don't feel that it's all lost, it's all gone. There is still hope. You can have that conversation, and this can kickstart your way to a new conversation, probably a new career. People change careers all the time. Come on. People change careers all the time. And I just remember what I wanted to say. I know a lot of kids, and coming back to the degrees, they sacrifice themselves just because parents want them to become a doctor. So they will go to the university, spend 4 or 5, how much years, 7 years, and then come out of the university and hand their parents a paper and say, no, I'm going to do what I want to do. You know, that happens. And you really don't want to have that haunting you for the rest of your life as a parent, knowing that your child sacrificed 7, 8, how much years of their life just to please you. You have a paper to show for it, but your child has been unhappy and he's now going to move on, probably even not speak to you ever, you know, because you stopped him or her from being who he or she wants to be. So these 7 ways is a great way to start. I am definitely going to pick it up. You will see my name on the back end, Crystal. So
I'm happy to hear that.
Yes, you will see my name on the back end, because I will be using this and I will be recommending your service. When I read the questions, I will be recommending and promoting this and letting people know, you know, even if, especially if you haven't started having a family yet, this is the way to start. Start working in your mind what you really want, how you really want to have a conversation with your children. Probably even pretend that you're having a conversation with a child that isn't there yet. Practice from now. Practice from now, or even practice on real kids. You know, join parenting groups, adopt your niece for the day or something. Practice, learn from others so that when you become an actual parent, you're pretty good at it, or you have a good start. Yeah? Make sense?
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh my goodness. Crystal, I want to leave you with the final words. I've been talking a lot as well, but I want to leave you with the final words. What are some final words that you want to say to the listening audience?
Yes, when I say that the 7 questions to help your child have a relevant career regardless of what age your child is, I really do mean regardless of what age your child is. Just because your child completes high school or college doesn't mean the conversation has to stop.
Right.
It's just another point in their life where they're thinking about, you just keep asking the questions, because it's not about how do you get a job out of college, it's about a career and what's the next step in their career, even after they have their degree and they're working. Like, it's about having a lifelong relationship with your child throughout your lives.
Beautiful, beautiful way to end the show. I am, as I said, I'm gonna grab that list. I'm gonna grab that list, Crystal. Look out for my name in the back end right after this show. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure, Crystal. I wish you all the best. You know, getting married, doing it in the right order, practicing before you actually become a parent. So when your kids come to you at 2, they're gonna come to you at 2, Crystal, because it's you. They're not they would know my mom is a career conversationalist and I need to hit her up at 2, not 4. So be ready. Be ready, Crystal. And I want you to come back on the show to tell us what your 2-year-old told you.
All right, I will make notes. Come back when my child is 2. And I'll bring my kid on the show. My kid.
Yes. Yes, you gotta bring her on. You gotta bring her on. Oh my goodness, Crystal, this has been fun. I learned so much from you. You know, some people might think you're not a parent. What the hell could you share with us as parent? What the hell do you know? But a child, they always say a child can teach someone. Yeah, from the mouth of babes. So we must be able to be humble and listen to persons, even if they are not where we are yet, but they have something to offer. Yeah, I appreciate you, Crystal. Thank you so much for being on Between the Lines.
Thank you. I appreciate you too and your audience, and thank you for having me as a guest.
Yes, you have a wonderful day and start practicing.
All right.